Introducing World of Tanks Secret Files. Wargaming, guess what? This idea is completely free of charge. You may use it if you choose to. You can send your think tank on a nice long vacation. So often I spend my time ripping on bad ideas by Wargaming. But what if I offered instead a good idea? And that is what I have today. Secret Files is a year-long campaign featuring a new season every 2 months. So you have 12 months total, 6 seasons total, and it delves into alternate history. World of Tanks console so recently, not even recently, but even the last 5 years, likes to introduce tanks that are more cringy than World of Tanks Blitz. Ideas that make Blitz seem like a superstar game by comparison. You have reskin Hot Wheel tanks, reskin Wrestler tanks, reskin Rambo tanks, not Rainbow tanks, but that's next! So watch out for that. There used to be a time when World of Tanks console would sometimes sneak things in that PC was contemplating about releasing. For instance, the Chieftain Mark VI. We got that while PC sat there crying, wanting it, and never actually getting it. And that is just one example of the many. What if console started doing that again? Now, let me explain how these seasons work. These seasons will be both Cold War and World War II, and will greatly encourage playing in both. The first season, January and February, will introduce a brand new tank line in World War II, starting from any tier you want. I don't care. I would recommend keeping it between starting at tiers 2 to tiers 5 and expanding all the way to tier 10. Alright, so you release this new tank line and with it a new map that has something to do with this tank line. For instance, if you release a new American tech tree based on blueprints and you decide maybe these would have come into fruition had the war made its way into America, you could release maybe a Washington, D.C. map in 1947. How would that look? How would that feel? Boom. Then, the next 2 months, which would be March and April, you release that same line starting from tier 8, but instead it is in Cold War. So the tier 1, Era 1, would be the tier 8 over in the World War II side. So for instance, we're just going to use the IS-3 to IS-7 line. Tier 1, Era 1 would be the IS-3. Tier 2, Era 1 would be the 257. Then tier 3, Era 1. So the highest tier you can get to Era 1 would be the IS-7. And there's a special catch. If you make it to tier 9 in the World War II mode, then guess what? You unlock the second Era 1 tank for free. If you make it all the way to tier 10, you unlock the high tier Era 1 tank for free, meaning you don't have to start completely over. What this does is it makes it so players who are enjoying this brand new line in World War II, the ability to continue it in Cold War and want to play Cold War, because we all know Cold War is not going anywhere anytime soon. Neither is World War II. So let's improve them. Let's make players want to play both. At the same time that this is happening, you release one new Mercenary tank every season, starting from tier 5. And these Mercenary tanks have something to do with the 3 new lines that will be introduced in World War II, / the 3 new lines that will be released in Cold War. So tier 5 is released January and February. Then the tier 6, March and April, and so on and so forth. All the way to tier 10, which is released in November / December. But here's another catch. The tier 10 isn't a contracted tank like the other 5. The tier 10 can only be received if the player researches and unlocks all 6 of the new top tier tanks. That would be 3 from World War II and 3 from Cold War. making it all the way to the highest tier escalation. And this new tank cannot be bought out by any means other than, of course, purchasing thousands of dollars worth of free experience and skipping all these lines. Otherwise, this player must grind through Cold War and World War II to get this. However, there is no time cap, meaning that this offer is there and it's there to stay. This is a reward people can grind for throughout their career in World of Tanks. And unlike other console lines introduced or console premiums that have been introduced, this will not be some ridiculous line. It won't be some made-up line by Wargaming or reskinned line by Wargaming. This will be an actual historical line in the sense of it existed in blueprints or in concepts or in simple ideas by historical people. And we're going to use one as an example, the TITT Razanov, a Soviet medium tank. Let me read about it. A project of the self-taught engineer Razanov, the fighting tank had thick, angled armor plates, and its suspension was protected by folding screens, and the main feature was the addition of driven battle rollers in the front. They were supposed to protect suspension from mines and shells, and if needed, be raised up. Razanov's other ideas included armored protection for tank-borne infantry, as well as a shell delivery system involving a chain-driven autoloader. You know console, they love their autoloaders. The project was rejected by GAP2 or GABTU as battle rollers could not be used as a mine clearer in reality, and some other suggestions were not developed enough from an engineering standpoint. Obviously, this idea wouldn't be easy. It would require using your brain and doing your job. You would have to do research. You would have to think to yourself, where would this line start? Where would this project sit? PC is already considering it and they think it should be at tier 8. So would we have this as our tier 8? Then what would the 7 be? What would the 6 be? What would the 9 be? What would the tier 10 be? And so on and so forth. Then you get to Cold War. What would the Era 2 be? What would be the next tiered Era 2? And so on and so forth. What would be the top tier? If this tank made it to modern day, if it was 2001 and this tank was released, what would it look like? Alternate history. You would have to craft your own 3D renders, your own 3D models. You would have to paint it yourself. You would have to come up with the stats yourself. You would have to do all this research yourself, but it would be worth it. And you would have to do this for 6 total lines. But hey, you have a wonderful community. You have wonderful people who know stuff, who's done research. You can ask. You can hire some of us. Have some of us consult. Or you can do it on your own. My point is, this is possible, and players would eat it up. They would love new tank lines that don't feel ridiculous. They would love to not just have premium shoved down our throat, and the season pass being the only means of grinding tanks these days. You don't get new tank lines anymore. You don't get new ideas from Wargaming anymore. You get, hey, flamethrowers are out. Okay, that is a simple idea. What are you going to do with that? Well, we're just going to reskin tanks that already exist, but give them flamethrowers and sell them for a lot of money. So we're not actually getting anything new. Well, no, but you're going to think it's new. This will bring back old players. This will keep new players. This will keep the middle people too. You want this game to live, and I want this game to live. We all have the same intention in mind. We're just all going about it differently. The truth is, the game is dying, and you can't deny it. You had to merge Xbox and PlayStation servers, yet you still had to get rid of the NA West server because there weren't enough players anymore. You also say there's not enough players to have +1 -1 matchmaking, which means you agree that it's a good idea, you just know there's not enough players to support it. That's admittance that you know your game is dying. And of course you do. You see the numbers. But instead of actually verbally admitting and trying to solve it, you're coming up with short, easy cash solutions. Introduce G.I. Joe. Bring in some players who want to see the G.I. Joe tanks. They'll come and stay a season, and maybe stay a couple months after that, and then they'll be gone. But hey, at least they spent $150 on getting all these tanks. You will never maintain a game that way because you are drastically losing your old players, your veteran players. and eventually you're going to release a season that not even new players want anything to do with, and you're going to run out of money. So, I offer this. World of Tanks Secret Files. 6 tank lines, 3 new maps, a prize at the end if you manage to get all the tank lines grinded out, and a reason for players to play both Cold War and World War II. Well, that's going to be it. I have this very thought out, a lot more details on it, but I'm not going to share them in this video. Perhaps if Wargaming wants to hear more, they can reach out. If any of you guys want to hear more, perhaps I can talk about it on a stream and you can ask me all sorts of questions. But remember, this is just a fantasy. This will probably never come into fruition. But Wargaming, it's free. It's yours. It's a gift to you. If you want to use it, take it. If not, then let it go. Let World of Tanks die. Of course, this is not the only solution, but it's one there for you, for free. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, slap that like button, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be seeing you guys all later. Take care, everyone, and peace out.